thank you for taking a minute out. And I would love to begin our conversation before we get into your life as a coach by asking you, right now, 4 years ago, we're looking at April, this pandemic began. How did you survive the pandemic and how did it change you?
Okay. Pandemic. Well, I have to say, I am very grateful to the pandemic. It really helped me a lot, professionally and personally, I have to say. And even though I mean, I was part of the suffering, so to say, that we all went through, I have to say personally, I haven't been suffering as much. And so first of all, I'm an introvert, and I've always been a bit burdened by other people's like extreme needs for, constant collective action together. So this kind of being, having a distance, having your own space, that was actually something I was very comfortable with. But on a more serious kind of professional note, what I noticed, well, two things actually. Before the pandemic, I was making a transition as a coach from more face-to-face to online, right? And that was not an easy transition. And actually, it was a very strong opposition to that transition from my clients and colleagues. So there was an overall belief. I actually worked with a lot of corporate clients, and there was this belief that coach absolutely has to be there face to face for you. Otherwise, coaching just will not work. And I mean, I was even like attacked for basically suggesting that online works just fine. And guess what? The pandemic is suddenly there is no other choice. And right now, everybody believes it's a new normal, right?
Yeah, yeah, they certainly do.
That's one thing. I just want to, if I may ask one more thing as a coach, and especially with my niche, working with mid-career and midlife men, what also happened a lot, that a lot of people who were very busy suddenly found themselves stuck at home with a lot of time and witnessing their life.
Yeah.
Witnessing their relationships, witnessing their family life, witnessing themselves, and having a lot of time to think and reflect. And that actually resulted, as we know, in a lot of mental health issues and a lot of anxiety and a lot of, well, actually even domestic violence, things like that. I mean, the divorces, right? There's a lot of but the good thing, let's say, that a lot of people started to ask themselves, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I happy? Is this what I want to do, after the pandemic? And a lot of people did not go back to the pre-pandemic times, so to say, right? So there was a big reflection and turning point, I think, for a lot of people.
So let's get to the whole essence of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third
Yeah.
graders. It's career day. One of the kids says, "Hey,
Okay.
what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Okay. So third grader will be like 8, 9-year-old, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, well, that's easy in a way because these guys would be children of my clients, right? The dads, their dads would be my clients. So I would say, well, listen, have you noticed lately that maybe your dad has been a bit stressed at work, right? And, there's been something going on. He may be less fun. He may be more tired, stressed. I mean, he's maybe more irritable. Sometimes you don't know how to talk to him, and mom says, leave him alone. Dad has stress at work. But then you also notice like them, at night or when they think you're not, hearing them, they kind of argue and fight. And you're worried about what's happening. It just seems not to be the guy you knew like, to be a couple of years ago. It's just something happening. And maybe he's like suddenly gets, sick, and he's like spends a lot of time on weekends just doing nothing, watching TV. Then he gets angry at you that you play on your phone, but then you see your dad playing on the phone all weekend, right? And even when he goes out with you or plays sports, he's like not present. He's worried about something. So you might be worried, what's that? And I can tell you, well, I'm helping people, men like your dad, deal with what's called a midlife and mid-career crisis. It's when guys find that maybe they don't have much fun doing what they used to be doing, and they want to reinvent themselves and do something that would be more fun,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, they're worried that they cannot just go and take big risks because they're responsible for the family, they're providers. So there's a lot of pressure. And so they're doing some soul searching, and I'm helping them to do it in a way that will not jeopardize, their families, their responsibilities, and yet that would allow them to find a way to make impact and income in the way that's purposeful to them and makes them happy, basically, so that you can have your energized, fun dad back, your role model, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
it's a good question. Well, I wanted to have a home. I had a very like confusing family dynamics, and in third grade, I was actually sent away from home for a leave away from home, many miles away from home for almost 5 years, and I changed schools every year. So I just wanted to have a stable home and that would be, free of addiction. And that was something I was really aspiring.
Yeah. How
Mm.
did you become a coach? What were the seeds that were planted into you early on that became you?
Mm. Well, there's like a professional wise, the basically, as I was executive in a corporate job, and I was given a coach to work with, and I just enjoyed that very much. It was something new. I wasn't sure what it was all about, but I enjoyed it, and that was provided very like good questions, and the kind of shift of my thinking, reframing, as we called it back then. So, and I was able to benefit from that as a client first, and then already later when I started to learn more about coaching, what it's like as a profession, I also got trained as an internal coach. I also remember that actually when as a child, exactly like what you said, I had to do a lot of listening in going between my parents, which in a way kind of trains you as having to listen, some conflict resolution, tuning in, empathy, all those skills, which actually are very important. Of course, I could not coach my parents. That was an impossible task. But then as a grown up, I could use those skills um, in a more professional, grown up capacity to actually help other people, with their situations, problem solve, and so on.
So who's been a hero for you, an inspiration?
Okay, that's a good question. It's a good question, Joe, because I actually, as a child, I think I had a bit of a maybe challenge finding the inspiration. And I remember my dad actually gave me, as I was like sent away, gave me a book written by a guy called Fridtjof Nansen. This is a very well-known Arctic explorer. He's a Norwegian. I think he's like he's originally his family from Denmark. He was Norwegian, and he's a very well-known explorer of Arctic. Uh, and about like over 100 years ago, right? And my family knew him. So my great grandfather knew him personally, and then my grandmother knew him. So it, kind of my father gave it to me as an inspiration. And I just remember that I kind of read it, but I didn't get it. It's just like what it's all about, the fighting, the ice, the traveling to the North Pole. I mean, it's just like, oh, what is it all about? And recently, I was. By the way, my dad passed away a long time ago, and I recently was kind of remembering that, and then I actually went and bought the book. Bought the book and thought I'll just have to look at it. What was that about? And I rediscovered the hero, so to say, in Nansen, which, let's say, long story short, they back then it was like end of 19th, beginning of 20th century. They were exploring the Arctic, and there was a certain way how they would try to break it to the North Pole, and they were going through the west side, and they were fighting the currents. And then Nansen, came across this study that said, well, actually, that there is a natural current that's happening there in the northern waters, so to say, where actually the ice drifts from east to west. And he had this crazy idea, so to say, that what if they build a ship in a way that it will be caught in the ice, and then it will drift with the ice, so they wouldn't have to do anything, rather than just be safe sitting in the ship and drift with it. And that's how they will achieve the highest latitude, the most northern latitude for the time. And I don't remember reading any of that as a child, but suddenly I thought, I was like, that's amazing. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
And that I found very inspiring, because I found, well, that's what I do. Because um, this is about, instead of fighting with the current all the time, why don't we find a way to go with the flow of energy, how it naturally goes. By the way, it was very tough. They were drifting 3 years in the ship. He had a ship specially designed, and there were 12 men and him, that 13 guys together, stuck in that ship for 3 years. Yeah. And so I would love to be like a fly on the wall in that in that space. And there were a lot of amazing stories, but I was just fascinated with this. Wow, how actually things can happen in a very unusual way, right? When we go with the current rather than just fight,
Yeah.
and we can achieve a much better result. So that became my inspiration in my current work, actually. So
So
that's an interesting story. Yeah.
absolutely it is. So speaking of inspiration, what is your fuel to get up every day to do the work that you do? Not only to help others, but to also evolve as a person yourself.
Mm. The first word that comes to me is obsession. I am a very obsessive problem solver, so to say, which doesn't sound very good. I think, yes, but my clients come to me, and they have a problem. They're stuck. They're stuck. They're burning out. They don't know how to get unstuck, and so on. And I see that um, in a way, as a puzzle to be solved, right? Because I have believed that every of my clients, every man has this natural flow, like what Jack just said. There is a natural flow of energy with this man, is absolute hero, and he will achieve his amazing results, and he'll have great impact and income, and make a world a better place. That's what my clients really want. And I get fascinated by each of these story, and I just literally live with it in a way, and I become obsessed. Well, how does it work? How is this system bugged? Because it's actually, once I met a guy who was he was debugging like software, and he
Hmm.
described to me how he feels, and I thought, bingo, that's me. Like he said told me, I cannot eat, I will not sleep until I find the bug. And he said, I intuitively feel where the bug, and then I find the bug and I debug. And I thought, that's me. Well, I sleep, I eat. I kind of not that crazy, so to say, but I find it very inspirational, just kind of have this investigation, because I know that there is an energy, there is an amazing contribution, how this guy basically plugs into the big matrix of who we are as humanity. And my role is to find and kind of debug this, so that this guy can be happy and sharing his gifts with the world, and make us happy as well that way. So that's kind of literally. But I sometimes, even in my dreams, get answers, because I'm so inspired by that.
Yeah. So you have to give out good advice to your clients. What's
Mm.
the best advice you've ever gotten?
Well, I would say probably the best advice was uncomfortable one. Well, the best advice is, I guess, what sets you out of comfort zone, because it makes you look at things different way, and that's how you find the solution, maybe the door, right? One thing comes to mind, which is not actually, I got a ton of great advice from coaches. I love coaches. I like working with other coaches, but this one was not a coach. This was my boss back in the corporate, and we had a conflict. And I remember, it was kept telling me, you need to give this person a benefit of the doubt. You need to give this person benefit of the doubt. And I remember that this is, he always asked me that I needed to give people benefit of the doubt. It made me angry. And one day, so he said, well, maybe you ask yourself, why are you angry about giving people a benefit of the doubt? So I went away and I really thought, yeah, why don't I look at it? And I realized I need to give myself benefit of the doubt first, and if I
Yeah.
do that, if I assume that we all have the right to have benefit of the doubt, then I will benefit as well. And it's kind of started changing how I see the world. So easier said, some people say just give yourself grace, and things like that. But it was time ago and I realized, wow, it does change. It does change how I see the world if I self benefit of the doubt. So that was actually opened up a big changes, including my career changes in my life, by just kind of, well, I guess listening to a guy who was making me very angry at the time.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes we have to do that. So of
We have to,
all
yeah.
of these things that you've done and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Oh God. Well, I guess I'm very proud of that. I have my own family because I started quite late in my 30s. Because before that, I believed I should not have a family because family is a source of suffering and disappointment and things like that, right? And that actually shifted very close to the times I just talked about giving benefit of the doubt, and I'm very happy and proud of that. Um, I did get on the journey of having my own family. I have two teenagers, and that was courageous and of me after what I also experienced as a child. And I have to say that it's been the happiest and most rewarding experience. And also I'm learning a lot. The kind of questions kids ask as teenagers, the kind of comments they make, that's really is really making me think, and that's really that's a great development as well.
So, Anna, everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your
Yeah.
clients, but you're ultimately in control. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm an explorer. So going back to the hero, right? So I'm explorer. I like exploring things. I like adventures, not just travel, but in my work. Every client is an adventure. Every client is an exploration. So yeah, that's the first word that comes to mind. It's
So, speaking of exploring, if anyone wants to reach out and hire you, learn more about you, anything
yeah.
about your world, what do they do?
Okay, well, I have a website. It's www.urnova.com. And that's basically where you can find all the information about me and what I do. And I invite people to listen to my free training where I explain, for instance, the essence of mid-career crisis and how you can overcome it. And if you, for instance, you really struggle with burnout or mid-career crisis right now, um, I invite you also to book a free call. It's the same www.anurnova.com but /apply. You can also find a link on my website, and I'll be happy to help you personally with your case. And there is no catch; it's really free, and this 45 minutes can really be game changer for you.
Absolutely. I encourage everybody to do it. Anna, thank you so much for your time and story today. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much, Joe. Really appreciate having
Thank you.
me on your podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice.